called Absolute Body Solutions, where I was then a manager, as well as doing 60 to 65 sessions a week, starting work at 5 o'clock in the morning all the way to 8 o'clock at night. Everyone, like, people class themselves as like a fat loss specialist. It's like what you're supposed to do. It's like from the majority of coaches, right, we're supposed to be making people lose body fat. It's like putting someone in a deficit does not make you a specialist. People are very, very brave behind the phone, behind the screen, and they don't think of the repercussions of what they say to the same degree as what you would say if you're saying in person. Because that girl might have been massively upset, and that girl might be very, very scared to post again. And what she said was technically true, and that might have helped 10 people. So who the fuck are you to then call that person out? Who that girl then potentially won't help anybody else now because she's too scared to post on Instagram. That's why I think, by the way, I think one-to-one coaching is going to come back. I think one-to-one coaching in 5 years will be the more popular than online. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of people doing online coaching now and charging a lot of money for online coaching. And you could argue they might not be as qualified to charge the amount they're charging. And I think eventually it'll do a U-turn where one-to-one coaching will be cheaper. You get a one-to-one service. And for all the pros that we said about one-to-one coaching, that's what the clients will be getting. So I think in 5 years, I think it might do a U-turn. So one-to-one coaching will become a little bit more popular than online.
So round two, Ali, we spoke at the end of the last episode we had you on, where we sort of got on to a little bit about the industry. And we both said when we came off air that this is probably a topic that's worth talking about today. From two, I would say, elder statesmen who've been in this for a while and seeing a new crop of people coming in, it would be good to talk about this. Before we go into that topic, though, I kind of want to know a little bit about your journey, because you, as someone that's now, like myself, has become, known for educating trainers. You've been now working with a lot of coaches, a lot of high-level guys. And I presume this didn't happen by just choosing the right niche and posting it on Instagram. So tell me, how did you start, and how did you get to where you are now?
Okay, cool. So I was very fortunate in my upbringing into the industry. So I'm not going to go to the whole long head story, but long story short is I was training a lot, and then my granddad got a little bit concerned that I was training so much, and he hired me a coach. And this coach then went to work for another company. And then when I finished university, instead of going and following what I got on my degree, I just fell in love with the whole process of training, and I loved the idea of training with other individuals. And this guy just said to me, have you ever thought about coaching? So we got my level 3 qualification, and then I got a job working for Kane Warren. And the company was called Elite Fitness Consultants at the time. And unlike a lot of people, I was thrown into education right from the start. So I'm not going to say the owner of the company, and because people either like him or they don't, but at the same time as he was a very, very smart individual, and I can never take that away from him. Now, how we applied the knowledge that he had, I potentially would have done it a little bit differently, knowing what I know now. But at the same time, it's I learned about nomenclature, I learned about gait cycle, I learned all the anatomy from day dot, and I had to know it. He was very Paul Check, Gary Gray sort of way of thinking. So from the start, as you said, education was everything. It was you have to know this, you have to know this, you have to know this. And we've discussed this before, where it's a little bit different now, where everyone just has a business coach without having the foundations of knowledge of what we actually are able to do, which is contract tissues. So we should know anatomy to some degree. Now, I don't think we need to know the ins and outs as a physiotherapist might do or whatnot, but we should understand the bare basics, in my opinion. Now, going on to what happened after that, I was with that company for about 4.5 years. Then I went to work for another company called Absolute Body Solutions, where I was then a manager, as well as doing 60 to 65 sessions a week, starting work at 5 o'clock in the morning all the way to 8 o'clock at night. And then after doing that for 1.5 to 2 years, I then went solely by myself, and then started finding out what I was truly passionate about. And it was more the transformation, the education side of things. But for me to get to that point, it took me 5 years of working with numerous people. And look, I like the idea of having a niche and knowing who you want to work with. But same as you, mate, as we've discussed before, I think sometimes you need to earn your stripes and be in the trenches and go through the transitions of actually who do you actually like working with, because you don't know until you work with them. So that was, again, I was very, very blessed in regards to like how I got brought into the industry, but at the same time, so I took full advantage of it. And then I got an awesome opportunity being able to mentor for the OTE, which is my first major teaching gig. And then I done my first 20-minute cameo on one of Adam's training seminars, and then that just sort of rolled on to when lockdown hit, being a full-time mentor. And then I brought Shane on, and then we mentored on that for a year to 2 years. And that's where I am now. So I got a break. And this is what I'd say to loads of coaches is, if you keep putting yourself out there, opportunities are going to come your way in some way, shape or form. And when they do, just take it, because you don't know what's going to happen. Because if it doesn't work out right, you're just going to end up in the same position anyway. So it just take these opportunities, because they've now led on to me, for example, being coaching coaches, coaching high-level athletes, being mentored to some people, and looked as a bit more of a quote-unquote education guy within the industry, which is just awesome, which I never thought I would have had this opportunity when I was 24. I didn't think this goal would have been possible, but I got quite a few lucky breaks, and I said I focused on education, and I still focus on education now, very similar to yourself, because at the end of the day, I still know I know nothing. Like, I had to call with Carl Baxter, and he started speaking about things, and I was like, oh shit. It's like, here's another like wormhole opened, and it's like now I have to think about breathing a lot more, and it's just more strings to your bow, and it just goes to show that as we get smarter, we know less and less and less, because there's a lot more smarter individuals who can specialize in more specialized topics, and that's the beauty about it. And that's what I love, and that's why I don't like it when people go, "Can you just tell me an answer?" It's like, why would you want to just have an answer? Like, it's more fun the fact that there is no answer, and there's so many ways in which we can get to the same direction. And then it's like trying to find out what's best for that individual. But again, to understand like the different thought processes, you have to go and learn off different people. Like, I know you've learned off Jordan Shallow, I know you've done RTS. It's like two completely sort of different training modalities, really. But at the same time, it's like all got into one goal. At the same time, it's like which client suits which one a little bit more, and so on from there. So that was a little bit of a long-winded rant, but yeah, that's where I've ended up and how I've got to the position where I'm in now.
No, I'm all for long-winded rants, but I totally get what you mean about that feeling. Like, you almost feel dumber the longer you're in this game, because like for ages I had this when I left my last company, my goal was to go into the education stuff. It's what I knew, right? It's what I was mentoring people, probably more than I was taking clients by that point. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And for ages I put it off, because I was like, I'm comparing myself to Luke Lehman, Jordan Shallow, Michael Goulden, all these great names. And I was realizing, like, I'm never going to feel like I'm there unless I do it, because you just go into a bigger room. The ceiling just gets higher rather than, you actually get closer to it. But like, I'm interesting what you said about taking opportunities head on. I think I'm in two minds about the idea of a niche early on. Like, in general, it's the more you know your niche, the better you're going to have, especially if you're trying to market to people on Instagram. But I find that earlier, I always wanted to be in the education field. My initial sort of inspiration in the industry was sort of Phil Learney. And my introduction to UP was the UP hypertrophy leg days. It was an education seminar that got me there, not a personal training session, But it was loosely there. And if I look back at where I am now and launching courses and mentorships and working with education with gyms, there's no way I would have been there without the last 10 years of working with people on the gym floor, putting this stuff into practice, and just like studying with the idea of this is going to help in 5 years rather than for tomorrow's session. And I feel that, as you said, there are more business mentors now. And I think people come into industry and immediately go, right, this is a quick, get rich quick sort of industry. I can make a lot of money here. And it's almost harder to sell education, because it's like, I can't demonstrate to you the value of this. You either see it or you don't. Whereas someone who's selling business can go, I can make you X amount of money within X amount of time. I can sell you knowledge. It doesn't necessarily, in our industry of all things, does not necessarily mean you're going to make yourself successful.
But I think that's the biggest transition from what it was, say, 6 years ago to 8 years ago, where normally the smartest coaches were making the most money, where it's not necessarily that equation now, as you said. Like, I've got friends who are business coaches, and I respect them all. But for me, a business coach, when I hire them, is more from a point of make my systems flawless. like make my business move so it's a great service for my clients. And in my opinion, and this is still my opinion, and don't get me wrong, I still appreciate that marketing is a massive aspect of it, and I've definitely not nailed it. It's not my strong point. I'll hold my hand up to that. But do you know, if you're getting really, really good results and clients are singing your praises because of your service, you will get more clients and you'll make more money. And you can theoretically you can charge more, because the better your results, the smarter you are, the more you reinvest into yourself. That's how you should be able to charge more. I'm sort of against the idea of just putting your prices up for putting your prices up sake. It's like how it's like you're not going to improve if your service hasn't improved, or you've not reinvested into your business, like bought a website or went on a new course that's going to help you work with another type of clientele that you might not have been able to work with before. I don't think you should be able to increase your prices, because there's no other really industry where you just put your money up just because you can. It's like you don't go to your barber and the barber just goes, yeah, me price is an extra £5 now just because. It's like, no, I went and done this course and I know how to do fades a little bit better now. So because I spent X amount of money on this course, I'm now being able to charge a little bit more because my fades look better. So if that makes sense, that sort of transition where now it's just like, well, I'm popular, so I'm going to put my price up by £50. And it's like, it does baffle me sometimes. But yeah, the industry has transitioned a lot. And I'm not saying it's for better or worse, but a lot of people are getting into coaching now, especially online coaching, without potentially, and again, this is where it's like you're saying about knowing your niche. It's like, how do you know your niche when you've not worked with everyone? It's like, when you've not worked with nurses, business owners.
Yeah. That was so much my thing for a while. I used to make a running joke. That, like, when someone used to come in and there used to be like this ridiculous, like, blonde supermodel looking guy, and it'd be like, okay, that's going to go to my colleague Luke, 7'4" guy, that's going to go to Matt, and then it's like someone comes in with a diabetic needle in their arm, I heart veganism, hunchback, it's like, that's for Simon. But I made myself a reputation for like getting results of people that had no right in getting results. And that's become not my niche, but it's almost like if I work with everybody, I kind of start to piece together the kind of people that I feel I can work with best, or I enjoy working with the most, which I think a lot of people don't get now because they're in a race to sort of go online. I want to quickly get back to your marketing point though, because I agree with you. Do you think that there is too much of a focus these days on going viral than putting out good content? Like, I see dancing on TikTok, I see things for, like, you know, like people spending so much time on Canva and fancy captions, where I also see people talking about protein shops where there isn't actually a meat source in there. Like, do you think there's more people focus on clicks rather than quality now?
So I had this conversation with a friend of mine last week, actually. I think a lot of people are trying to be what they think people want them to be, as opposed to just being themselves. So I think there's a lack of authenticity on it. So I've got a client, and he is one of the funniest guys ever. It's like, he sends me his check-in, and he sends me a check-in Loom, just reviewing his week, and I just laugh right from the start, because he is just that funny. So when he puts Instagram content out there, his Instagram content is funny because that's who he is. Where I find out a lot of people now are just trying to make reels funny because they think funny reels gets them clicks. And it's so to go to agree with your argument, yes, I do. Whereas if you're not naturally like that witty and that just that entertaining, it's like, stop trying to be someone you're not just because you think that's what the industry wants, or that's what's going to go viral on TikTok or whatever you've just said before. Like, I got TikTok last week and it's absolutely blown my mind, and it's like, I've not touched it since. It's like that just confuses me, TikTok. But it's like, Pete told me to get it. It's like, you need to get TikTok because, like, you can just put a 15-second reel on there, and until you get so many views, it's like, okay, I'll let you govern that. That's not for me. But that's what I think is the issue with the industry in regards to, like, everyone's thinking about like the trending song or what's the hot topic of this week, instead of saying what actual benefits post could I give that's going to get my clients or my potential clients interested in my page. And again, like I said, like, marketing's not my specialty, but at the same time, it's something that I think has gone completely a different direction what's ever been before.
I think there's two things to this as well, right? Like you was mentioned earlier on, so not always the best coaches rise to the top, but it's a lot more hidden now than it used to be. I used to think it was good coaches, and then it was sort of like TV stars putting out weight loss products. Whereas now, there are so many people that are genuine coaches that aren't very good, but very versed in camera skills and Canva and editing and a machine gun cookie cutter approach and algorithms to help calorie deficits. And you can only really sell shit once. But you can only sell it once to each person, and there's billions of people on the planet that might buy from that person. So, while I generally would like, I do think that it is an issue that there's more focus put on the wrong things. I sometimes wonder whether I'm just fighting a battle that's like not going to be won. Like it's almost like I should almost embrace it a little bit because that's the way the world is. And these coaches that are doing that are helping the people that maybe we can't help because we are not putting our time and effort into learning marketing. I don't know. I sometimes look at this when I look at podcast downloads, things like this. Like, I'm sometimes the best kept secret. So maybe I should spend more time on this stuff.
It's for me, it's a very, very good point because you can get sort of like bitter with it, like and get a little bit annoyed and pissed off and all this kind of thing. It's like, oh, but like I've done X, Y, and Z, but it's like, are you just like not playing the game? And it's like marketing, and it's like keeping up with the times is probably a better way than putting it than playing the game because it's like, when people moan about like it's not back, it wasn't like this back in our day, and like you talk about like our parents and grandparents, who say that in the sense like, yeah, but the world's a different place now. And the world is a completely different place now. It's like how old are you, Simon?
32.
Okay, so you remember when dial-up internet was a thing?
Yeah, very much.
It's like you plug your phone in. Yes, exactly. So, but like the kids nowadays grew up with Instagram. Like they grew up with knowing what trends are and how important trends are. Whereas like we're just starting to sort of try and buy into their world a little bit. And I think you could also argue, is it ignorance on our behalf, where it's like, because we don't think it's important, because we know what's important is knowledge and the clients and getting them results, we don't think we should learn that, when theoretically, as you said before, should we learn that so we do get the right clients, so the clients come to us who we know we're going to deliver a great service to. I think sometimes like that's a little battle I have in my own head. There's one thing I'll never do, which is cold DM. I won't cold DM people. I don't like the idea of it. It just doesn't sit well with me because I think people are just onto it now as well. Like people are onto cold DMs. Like it's been done for now over a year. So the only thing I probably will do is like when I see something cool and then I'll just voice note the person and say it's quite cool and like have a little conversation about it. Like as if you would do as if you're on the gym floor. That's how I like to look at it. Is when you're on the gym floor and you're trying to get a client or you're just trying to get your name out there a little bit more, you just go and chat to people. But you chat to people because you're generally interested in them and generally interested in working with them, as opposed to whoever's there just messaging them because you might get that client when, as you said before, like you've got a niche now. It's like, why are you going to contact a 21-year-old lad who's just starting out in the gym if that's not the type of person that you want to work with? But you just cold DMing them because they just followed you. And I think that's where I'm not a fan of the cold DMing.
That's the advantage of it.
But the other side of the thing is...
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the advantage of a niche because it's like you have a bit of a direction of who you can speak to. Whereas I think like when I first started the online coaching game, it's like sort of everybody, busy professionals, right? Who isn't a busy professional? So you do end up cold DMing people because like I've got to reach out to a certain amount of people. If no one's interacting with my content, like I'd love it if I didn't have to do it because people came to me, but that's not the world we live in. But I think now I have more of a niche. I know I can speak to coaches directly. I open up more dialogue, whether it's because I'm talking to them about stuff that interests me anyway, so I can start that conversation, or I'm putting out content that maybe they'll speak to me a little bit more than before. That's where having a certain idea of where you're going could be more useful. But I agree. I've had so many people message me in the when you get the private messages on Instagram of people have no idea. I had one person say, I've looked at your content, it's really good. Do you want to be an ambassador of our sports bra company? I'm like, you've looked at my profile and you said I'll be good for this. Like, really?
Yeah. And but I think the issue is just like, no, say you people who are in this industry, they care about this industry and they care about the job. It's like, you might you start off cold DMing people because you generally want to work with people. Whereas now, because there's a lot of new coaches getting into the online coaching world who, as you said, it seems like a quick way to make a lot of money. Like, they generally don't care about the person that they work with. They see the person as a pound sign as opposed to an actual human. And that's where now everyone's cold DMing people, and then everyone is just look, because like you'll see, you get a message request, and you don't even read it, you just go delete. It's like, I know it's like you just delete it now. You don't even have to. Oh, I don't, and I know it's probably rude as well, because some people actually might be generally trying to reach out to me, but it's like you get so fed up with having them all the time that you do just go, no, I'm not reading it, because it doesn't seem genuine. And I think that's where we talk about this marketing aspect of it. There's a lot of there's not many people who are being genuine when they're thinking about the marketing. It's more just tactics and scripts and all of this, which at the end of the day, as I said, I might just be naive to it and a bit ignorant. And this is the world that we need to sort of embrace as well and not probably fight against too much. Because you're the same age as me, 32. Am I 32? Yeah, I'm 32. Same age as me, 32. So it's like, we are a bit of a different... Yeah, it's bad, isn't it, when you actually start forgetting your age. We are a different generation.
Do you think because this is something I've noticed recently, for a while I've had conversations with people where we're saying that there are more coaches now that we do not believe have actually walked the walk in any sense. And I'm not saying you really walk the walk more than I do, but like to the point where not even in the slightest that they do. And I started to think we're seeing the repercussion of it now in people's content than we didn't before. Because I've seen now a lot of people talk calorie deficit, progressive overload, without any real strategy of how to get there. It's like, you've got to be in a deficit, you've got to progressively overload. I'm like, but how? How are your clients doing this? Do you think people now, more than ever, do you think there are less people actually are living and breathing at least once in a life their craft before they're trying to sell a product they have no idea how to get to?
So I remember one of my first ever major course that I went to was the M10 Physique Camp. And Mark Coles made the statement, and it's never ever left my brain. It's like, before you think you've got the authority to make people get in shape, you've either had to go through a fat loss phase yourself, or you've had to go through a muscle building phase yourself. And that's something I truly believe in, because like, I do an extreme sport. I'm not gonna lie, like, bodybuilding is an extreme sport, and I'm not even like that good. Like, I'm good, but I'm not that good. Like, there's elite of elite, but I just love the challenge of it. But what it gives me ability to do is to relate to the individuals that I'm putting something through. So when they go to me, oh, I'm really tired, or I'm just struggling to think of things. It's like, I know how you feel. And I don't think coaches need to be inside out, and I don't think coaches need to be massively jacked. But I think coaches need to understand the process that they're putting their own clientele through. So if you're trying to class yourself as a marathon trainer, like you train people for long distance running, you better be practicing long distance running yourself. You might be able to understand energy systems, understand gait pattern, but if you don't actually understand what it's like to run X amount of miles, you're trying to tell people to run X amount of miles, I don't think you can have the authority there. The same way if you're trying to tell someone to get absolutely dick skin lean, but you've never been dick skin lean, and you don't know what it's like knocking on death's door, I don't think you can have that authority. And again, I don't think you need to walk around like that. And I don't think you need to be that 24/7, but I think you need to put yourself through it at least once to go, okay, look, like, I know how you're feeling. I know this is very, very difficult. And it's the same when people are trying to put on muscle, and sometimes you are force feeding yourself, because it's not an easy process. Like, eating a lot of 1,000 calories on a day-to-day basis, people go, oh, it sounds great. That it's like, it's really not. If you're doing that for over a year, you do get the sick of food. But when you've been through that process yourself, you can really relate to the clientele that you're asking to do something. So yes, I do think there's a lot of clients who don't practice what they preach. Because like Pete says this, and I will throw Pete under the bus here, but he's so right in what he says. It's like, everyone, like, people class themselves as like a fat loss specialist. It's like, what you're supposed to do. It's like from the majority of coaches, right? We're supposed to be making people lose body fat. It's like, putting someone in a deficit does not make you a specialist. And that, like, the word specialist is thrown around so much now. And it's like, it does make me chuckle, that, because like 10 years ago, you'll never call yourself a specialist unless you've done X amount of courses or you've been through X amount of education then actually think like you might warrant that word to some degree. Like I think I've got like physique specialist, like physique transformation specialist, but I like to think I can probably put myself in that bracket a little bit. But that's took me 10 years plus to be able to like sort of class myself as in that kind of world. But yeah, to answer that question quite simply, I don't think people in this industry now truly walk the walk like it was 5, 6, 7 years ago.
No, and I remember when I first started the industry that everyone was so huge, and like not as like
Yeah.
yourself. I don't think everyone has to walk around like that, but I do feel there was this sort of like, again, we'll go into this in a second. There's a downside of just this hustle, hard work culture, but there certainly is the times have changed now where it's all about working smart. It's all about ice baths and flotation tanks, and I like both of those things. And the ultimate morning routine that takes 4 hours long, rather than actually something that resonates with the clients or getting it done when you don't want to. Like we said about earlier on about progressive overload and calorie deficit, right? People throw those terms out without any strategy of how to get there. You know, like I think there's so many things. Discipline is another one, right? People say motivation is rubbish. It's about discipline. Fantastic. How are you achieving that discipline? That's so easy to say. You need discipline, calorie deficit, and progressive overload. Go into the world and just get it sorted. When you've been there, you know where those struggles are. You know when people are like being lazy, and you know when people are struggling and need you to help them. And I think that's becoming less and less. There is one thing I do with every group of mentees I ever had, when especially anyone I see call themselves a specialist, is ask them if they know how fat loss happens on a cellular level. And very rarely do I get an answer to that question. Very rarely. Now, do you need to know the impact of adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, on adipose tissue and how it works? Does it impact your life? No. But the way I explain it is like my surgeon probably doesn't need to know every bit of anatomy to take out my kidney, but I'd rather he did.
Yeah. It's I think it's a very good thing. So like you were talking about this like progressive overload, fat loss. Now the issue with this industry a lot as well, people just are very good at regurgitating things that they see on TikTok. And as you said, like because we grew up in a world where there wasn't as much social media presence, we had to put our head in a book, or we were reading an article like via T Nation or something like that, where that's where we got our information about. And like the people who were writing on T Nation were very, very educated individuals. And that's how we've learned. So we learned the process of how something was achieved instead of just hearing the words of someone else saying how something was achieved, if that makes sense. Because like you can argue like JP was the big person who made progressive overload like this massive word. But like JP learned from Dr. Scott Stevenson, who learned from Dante Trudell. So like it was going miles before JP. And JP just made it a lot more user friendly, if that makes sense. Like it appeared to a lot more people. And that's why I'm a big fan of him. Like I'm a big fan of JP. I think I just love watching him train. I love to train with him because I just like to see what it's like to see with someone train with that intensity. And I think because like that can't be replicated. But yeah, that's another conversation, different topic. But it's like that's my biggest thing as well, because people say loads of things that they hear, but they don't understand. It's like the whole like no reverse banding. They see people reverse banding, and then they think they need to reverse band because I see Joe Bennett do it, but they don't understand why Joe Bennett is doing it.
Yeah.
They're just reverse banding it because they see someone who's a bit of an authoritative figure doing it, and he might explain it, but they don't want to listen to the explanation. They just want to do the do. And that's where I think the industry's changed a little bit as time's gone on. Is TikTok is 15-second, 20-second sort of attention grab things. Where it's like, do this to grow big quads, reverse band the hack. It's like, okay. As opposed to, we reverse band the hack to keep it. We reverse band the hack because this person's got knee issues. Where it's like, that's a justifiable reason for that person to reverse band the hack, because when that knee is most exposed to a lot of load, you're taking the weight off it a little bit because we don't want their knees to flare up. And there's none of that anymore, mate, where we have to justify why we put exercise into programs, or we have to justify why we put a certain nutritional protocol into a client's diet. People just do things without any thought process.
Do you know what I've seen a little bit less of? We talk about like things like being like 15-second sound bites, and it's often these things of little tips and this educational stuff, and we spoke about captions before. It's been a long time since I've seen a 15-second clip of someone going to failure. And I wonder if it's because less people do it.
So this the whole comp of like reps and reserve or training to failure now, isn't it? Like me and Pete talk about this a lot, and like me and Pete have got a very, very good thing. Is just, I don't care, really. It's like I generally don't care how people train as long as you're training hard and you're making progression. But the amount of people that you, because like again, like we had this conversation before we jumped on the podcast. I think something like I'm not going to talk about, but it is that thing. So when people can't do something, they demonize it. Because training to failure is fucking hard. Like training to absolute failure takes a fair bit of balls, and you've also got to trust your training partner that you're training with to save you if shit hits the fan. And I think it's a hard thing from a psychological aspect to really delve into that place. Like, so my girlfriend's an IFBB pro, and she pulled 190 off like 4-inch blocks yesterday. Now my girlfriend's only 5'4", so you can work out the mechanics of that. But to put 190 on a bar for a female is fucking ridiculous. And like, I give it all the shit in the world to like, I hack squat 7 plates aside, and she done 6 plus 10, 6 plates plus a 10 plate. And I can make all the excuses like, yeah, but your feet are a little bit higher. You don't go as low. Like your range of movement should be a little bit more than that. All this kind of bullshit, right? But it's the fact that she puts 6 plates plus a 10 on a machine, and she has that thought process of doing it. That's the most impressive thing. And I think there's less people now going, I wonder if I can do that. Like, no, like pushing that boundary of if, but, and maybe. Whereas people play things potentially a little bit safe now because they've heard that you don't want to fry your CNS system, or you don't want to overtrain and all this. And you know, like, and like that's all things that we should definitely be taking into consideration. But most people can't overtrain because they don't train hard enough. Like, that's a simple fact. It's like,
well,
to really put yourself in a hole.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to answer that question, I think like training to failure, the reason why people don't do it is because they haven't got it in them, and the reps and reserve model suits their personality and persona a lot more, which doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but in my opinion, still training to failure is the better option. That's my opinion, though.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you in that 100%. And it's all these people that talk about training to failure. You mentioned earlier on about reverse banding and people seeing like, oh, I'm going to do that rather than understanding the how. And we spoke about it on the mechanics episode when you came on last time about people like not potentially understanding mechanics. Is that people look at reverse banding as a way of making it easier when actually it's a way of making it harder. And when you've never gone there, you don't know that that's the answer to this. You don't know that's the pursuit. And I have a very big thing about reps and reserve in the fact that I generally think that most people don't know where 1 to 2 reps and reserve is, let alone stopping there. And I would like to take all of those people that talk about reps and reserve and on Instagram and put them in a room with you and see where you take them, because I think it'd be very different from what they think it would be.
Yeah. So I've been training, let's say, like, like when people say they've been training properly. So I've been training properly for 7 to 8 years now. Say the full JP method of training hard kind of shit. Understanding volume, understanding recovery. So say 8 years. I still think I'll struggle to say what 2 reps is, 2 reps in reserve is. And the thing about me for that as well, for me, Simon, is like, I'd leave that set and in my head I'll be going, was that 3 or was that 1? It's like, was that 3 reps in reserve or was that 1 rep in reserve? So have I actually hit that 2 reps in reserve? And because of how my mindset works, I'll be thinking too much into it to the point of I then probably couldn't fully enjoy the rest of the session. And again, this is why I think the reps and reserve model will suit a certain type of personality who potentially don't get so emotionally attached to certain things and can go, okay, cool, that was in the 2 rep and reserve parameter. I can go on to the next exercise now. Because I understand the concept, and I think on paper the concept works very, very well. I can't argue against it. But I just know with me and my personality and me knowing a lot of other people who like to train, like arguing how like we like to train, it'll fuck with our heads too much. And I think that's the downside to it if people can't sort of let the emotional side of training go, because there's nothing better for me than dying on a hack squat. There's just nothing. Like there's nothing that gives me a kick where it's like I trained with my mate Nathan yesterday, and we done the Atlantis pendulum, and he got 9 reps, and I got 10, and I could have finished that session there and been happy as Larry because I beat him. And it's like I don't care if you're in a deficit, I still beat you, and that's that.
You wouldn't have got 10. You wouldn't have got 10. I don't think. And I've seen you train. I know how tough you are. But I don't think you would have got 10 if he wasn't there. And that's competition. It does everything, right? And that's why a training partner's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I love the fact that you use hack squats as an example. Because I think there's, when we talk about reps in reserve as well, there is a difference between skill-based lifts and output-based lifts. People who are coaches who sit there, listen to this and go, oh, well, I train to 1 rep in reserve. Well, 1 rep in reserve on a back squat is hard. Do not get me wrong, but it's totally different. And one of the things you mentioned to me before we came online, saying, like, am I excited about moving back to the UK? One thing I am excited about, no disrespect to the gym I work in, it's brilliant, but I'm looking forward to joining a gym as a purely like a machine-based bodybuilding gym and almost take me through, because it's been a long time, take me through a phase of doing almost sort of like a Mike Mensa style blocker training, because it humbles you. It makes you realize again how hard you can work, because you think you're working hard when you're doing dumbbell presses and back squats and deadlifts, and you realize there's a layer to this. There's a layer to this that you can't do. And if you truly want to build muscle, I think there's nothing replaces getting some of these really externally stable machines and just take output to the next level. And I haven't done that admittedly in too long, so I've not had the resources.
This is a really, really cool topic, this, because you know who Nick Gloff is, don't you? I'm assuming. So obviously he's done a lot of prescript stuff. Oh, you don't know who Nick? Okay, right. Follow Nick Gloff. I'll send you his profile after this. Nick Gloff is a very, very, very intelligent man. He's a big advocate of prescript. He's done a lot with JT University as well. Now, Nick was talking about this sort of concept now of, like I said, like an incline barbell press compared to an incline Smith press. Now, when we look at an incline barbell press, it's a lot more of a, as you said before, it's a skill-based movement. There's a lot more of stability aspects to that lift that are probably going to give out before the muscles that you're trying to target are going to fatigue. So the way he does this, and this is what I really, really like this concept of, say if he's got 2 sets of incline barbell press, he'll go to what he classes sort of like his skill failure level on that movement, and then he'll go to an incline Smith, and then he'll go from that force production point of view, because obviously because you're a lot more stable, you can exert more force, and then you can take that tissue to a true failure perspective. Then as he gets better at the skill of the incline barbell press, he'll reduce the work needed doing on the Smith press until he's mastered the skill for his body on the incline Smith press, in the incline barbell press, to the point he doesn't need the Smith machine press now. Because what people don't appreciate is, if you've not barbell squatted, if you've not done a variation of a hip hinge movement, an incline press movement with free weights, whether that be dumbbell, and you go back to it, there's so much skill required within that exercise. You're not going to go back to that PB you hit 3 months ago. You're going to have to build up to it. And that's what I think a lot of people don't go to. Well, they go, yeah, but I hit 60 kilos on an incline dumbbell press 4 months ago. I've put on 5 kilos of tissue. I've upped my cycle. I should be able to do 62. It's like, but you haven't done that movement. And it's nowhere near the same as going from a hammer strength Smith press, a hammer strength incline press, leaving that out for 3 months, and then going back into it with them same parameters in place, because it's so externally stabilized, that movement, where you just literally just have to press. There's nothing else you have to juggle. And that was like a really, really big, I thought it was a very, very well explained thought process of how, even with the same angulation of bench, how the exercises are so different from a skill-based perspective. And that's something a lot of coaches probably don't know and don't understand as well as Gen Pop. They think an incline Smith and an incline barbell, you should be able to do roughly the same amount of load. It's like, no, completely different exercises.
I love that. It's almost like it's like a mechanical drop set, but like a mechanical rest pause. So like I fail on an incline barbell press, but I realize I've actually got more weight, so I go to a more stable variation to get to find out where the difference is, and over time close the gap. I think that's, if you've got a gym where you can do that, you can borrow 2 machines and get him set up. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's just like it was just a very, very cool. So like you might do say 2 sets of 8 to 12 on incline barbell. I'm so used to saying incline Smith, and then he goes and does 2 sets of 8 to 12 on the Smith, and then as time goes on, he'll do 3 sets of the incline barbell and just 1 set on the Smith, and then eventually you just take the Smith away because you can exert as much force as you need to generate the hypertrophy stimulus he wants from the incline barbell. And I thought it was just a genius. And I apologise, like Nick doesn't know who I am, but Nick, if I've butchered your thought process there, but that's what I interpreted from your YouTube video that you said. I thought it was just a clever way because he barbell squats sometimes in hack squats in the same session. And again, it's the same thought process. A barbell squat, I think people don't understand the skill that is needed for a barbell squat. Everyone just thinks they should be able to squat. And it's like, there's so much from an upper body point of view, never mind a low body point of view, that is needed for you to be able to barbell squat efficiently to generate the hypertrophy response that we're looking for.
And that's putting like proportions, limb length, structures aside, right? That is purely just from being able to control your hip, your knee, your ankle, your spine, your external rotation to get under a bar. Shoulders. Like this stuff that, shoulders, the stuff that I've always struggled with. Like I've been safety bar squatting. That's my only squat that I will have in my program for that exact reason. Going back to like we're talking about like living and breathing this on the gym floor and the ability of training hard. And I'm very much in the camp. I do want to see more coaches train harder on their Instagrams and sort of live and breathe it. Is there potentially a flip side of this the other way? You mentioned like upping your cycle as one of the things that example hypothetical person could do and should be lifting more. Like, do you feel there's a pressure on coaches now? So let's say I see hypertrophy coach do X, Y, and Z, but now I need to look like hypertrophy coach. I need to look like Joe Bennett, where that is not entirely realistic. And if you don't look like Joe Bennett and you're not funny as James Smith, where's your place?
Okay. What do I think? There's a pressure to be X, Y, or Z?
Like, do you think the hustle culture has its drawbacks in that sense?
It's a deep question. So I'm 32. When I hit 32, for some reason I stopped giving a shit. Don't know why. Just something happened. I mean, like I just stopped giving a shit. I think nowadays for younger people, 100%. I feel like they need to fit into a quote unquote mold of what they think is important from a coaching perspective, where they feel like they need to be, as you said, as funny as James Smith, or they need to look like a certain coach to be able to get the respect from the clients that they potentially might want to sign up. Now, when people start to understand that people buy people, and some people might not like James Smith, some people might not want to look like Joe Bennett. Like Joe Bennett's my goal, by the way. So like when I'm his age, I love to walk around looking like Joe Bennett and train the people Joe Bennett trains. I think it's just fucking awesome. But I think there's definitely a pressure that probably you could argue you and I don't really get too much because we're a little bit older and we've probably been molded via the previous generation of what we've been experienced by, where it's like, no, you said before, it's like, you never thought you were smart enough to do this kind of thing. So like, I'm probably in the same mindset as you. It's like, I sometimes pinch myself when I'm doing a seminar thinking, why the fuck are these people coming to listen to a Scouser talking about fucking mechanics of like how to do a back exercise? Like, I still struggle to get my head around that. But at the same time, it's like you're right. You just make the ceiling a little bit bigger, and the people you surround yourself are just a little bit smarter, who you look up to. And it's like because I'm like, why are people coming to me when I was going to James Sutton not too long ago? But I'll always still go to James Sutton because James Sutton's always going to improve his knowledge, and you're always going to be chasing to some degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the pressure these young coaches must be under now is ridiculous, I think. And it must be very, very hard. But when people understand that we're a service-based driven industry and people buy people, so be yourself, because at the end of the day, when you're trying to fake someone else, you will be found out. Like you will. You can't just be someone different and keep that sort of persona for the rest of your life. It's not going to work. That's why I said to you before about like my client who's just ridiculously funny, Mike Martin. I'll put him on there because he's fucking hysterical. Like he's generally just that way in life. So when he's like that on Instagram, that is him. That is him, full stop. Like he's not trying to be someone else. And it's the same with me. If you want to see me being true, authentic, get me in a room with coaches talking about training, and it's a debate. And I love when people have different ideas to what I have, because I love this. I love discussing it, because as we said before, there's no right or wrong way to do things to a certain degree. But if you ask me to try and be funny on the spot, or if you ask me to talk about a topic dead on the spot now, and I have to do a reel for it, it's like I've got no, I'll struggle. It's like you put like, I need to be sort of like in a conversation mid flow where I feel like it's an organic talking thing. It's like when we go and see my media guy before, it's like he'll just capture me and Pete talking about shit that we love talking about, and then that's truly me and him in our elements. Whereas I do think there's a lot of pressure for people trying to be someone that they're not, and they're afraid potentially to be themselves, because if themselves doesn't get the rewards or the likes that they want, they might then start to go into the shell a little bit. And it must be a hard world. It must be. Like, I'm not envious of them at all. Like these, like say 20 to 25-year-olds who are getting into the industry, and there's so much more to them than what there was for you and I. It must be difficult, mate. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, to some degree, what you just said.
I think there's two sides to this. You mentioned very interestingly about like when you got to 32, you didn't give a shit. And while I do think I am in the same boat that I have stopped giving a shit at 32, but I think I've had a different end result of not giving a shit than you. So like, while I'm much more happy to be myself and I'm much more confident in my own skin, I feel that because like, look, we both know a lot about training. We both got in great shape before. We've both been DSL, but you got into the bodybuilding world heavily, right? So when you stop giving a shit, you're so into that world, you're always going to be like you're always going to stand out as the trainer guy. I feel to me, to a degree, when I stopped giving a shit, I was like, well, I spent all my life in a gym. I want to see what other things life has. I want to eat some food here in Hong Kong. I want to go traveling. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I found that I've had that pressure more as a 32-year-old, because me trying to explore different parts of life is almost at a little bit of conflict sometimes to keeping up a physique, leaving an example to my clients. It's the same thing of not giving a shit. And I think that's very interesting, because you live and breathe it maybe in a slightly deeper way than if not I ever have, but certainly than I have in the last 2-3 years, as opposed to when I was 24, everything was about eating, training, making my own pre-workouts out of individual things. Whereas now, less so. Yeah.
Okay,
so
on the flip side to that though, you've lived and breathed it. It's and that's why you've still got that authority standpoint of it. Now, I always question, like, because this will be probably my last competition when I do in 2024. It's like, what's the next thing? Like, what's the next thing? Because I always have to have something I'm working towards. And I've got no idea, if being honest, what that will be at this moment in time. I'll still train and eat, because I love the bodybuilding style life, if that makes sense. I love the regimented aspect of it. It makes me a lot more productive as an individual. But when I say I stop giving a shit as well, it's like, I'll put something out there if I just think it's valuable and it can help one person. Whereas, say, a couple of years ago, I'll be worried about what other people would think of my post. Whereas I don't care what they think of my post now. I think about that one person that I might be able to help. And that's just been a mindset shift. Like, I care still about what people around me think, and like my friends and family. But I think if loads of coaches now just thought about the person that they're trying to help and reach, and they just put content out there. So I'll give you a story that happened yesterday or the day before. One of my friends is on some kind of media course, and there's a group of people on it, and this girl put a story on saying, instead of eating a large chocolate bar, just have a smaller chocolate bar. So you're still having the chocolate, but you're just having a lesser size version of it. Excuse me. And this guy jumps on and records her reel and starts slagging this girl off. It's like, why? Why? It's like, why? Like, what is the point about that? Because what that girl said isn't incorrect. Your thought process of just don't eat the chocolate in general, that'll work for a certain percentile of people. But some people haven't got, as you said before, haven't got that discipline at this moment in time for whatever reason that may be. And the fact that you've got the time to jump on Instagram, create a reel of you talking over someone else's reel, which I don't know how you do, by the way. I've got no idea how you do that. But it's like, why? Or for some clickbait, and like, what people don't understand, so like my girlfriend, I said she's an IFBB pro, but a year ago, she would be terrified to put something on Instagram because she'd be afraid of what people would say about her form, her training, like if she's done something correct or she says something silly. And if he would have said that to her a year ago, she would never post ever again. And it's like,
Yeah,
you don't know the
exactly.
detrimental effect of what you're saying. And the other thing is like, would you say it to the face? So that's the thing. Is like, would you say it? Like, would you say half the shit you're saying a fucking thing to my face? And the answer for the majority of people is probably no, you wouldn't. But it's so easy to type things because I can guarantee around night, nobody would say half the shit that people would say people look like China because China will fucking kill them. And it's like, and that's my biggest thing. It's like people are very, very brave behind the phone, behind the screen, and they don't think of the repercussions of what they say to the same degree as what you probably would say if you're saying in person. Because that girl might have been massively upset, and that girl might be very, very scared to post again. And what she said was technically true, and that might have helped 10 people. So who the fuck are you to then call that person out? Who that girl then potentially won't help anybody else now because she's too scared to post on Instagram. And that's the kind of shit I fucking really hate.
I think that's the. Yeah, I agree with you. I also think that's another reason why I think it's one of the unspoken about reasons why I think it's running into online businessing straight away without spending some time on the gym floor can be detrimental because you've never learned what it's like to be let down or dismissed or insulted or criticized in real life. So you sit behind that armchair. And I've certainly dealt with that. Certainly working with coaches now, you find some great, like coaching work on the gym floor are generally very professional, very polite, very hardworking. And I find sometimes the people that go straight into the online world don't have that much integrity. And I had this recently where I had someone, I don't mind if I call him out because this is what he did. Someone signed up to my mentorship and literally asked to push his payment back because he wanted to go away for his birthday on the piss and money was going to go on that instead. I gave him the benefit of the doubt and then he just stopped messaging me and cancelled the subscription on his payment plan, right? Now, this person also posted up things about chasing clients for payments, for check-ins, reason why he's not getting check-ins from his clients. Like, do you not see the link here? If you're not having integrity to your own business and your own outgoings and your own commitments, how would you expect people to have that same level of respect for you? And I find with the online stuff, when disappointing someone is just I'll ignore their messages away, then people will forget those things. And I think when you're in real life, when you've had people not turn up to sessions, let you down, or you disappointed someone, as you said earlier on, if I don't turn up to somebody's session, right, you are now responsible face to face with that person to apologize and go, I cannot believe I did that. And those lessons, while I don't wish them on anyone, I feel are important.
100%. So I remember once. So I lived in Liverpool. And like the studio I used to work in was a 7-minute walk. I've done this once in my life. I slept past my alarm and I missed my 6 a.m. session. I got to the gym at 6:15 and I seen a car drive away, and the feeling of shitness inside of me I've never felt before. And the girl was cool because look, it's life innit, shit happens. But that fear of terrifying, upsetting someone, letting someone down, because at the end of the day, they've got their goals that they're trying to work towards, and you fucked up. There's nothing like you fucked up. It's like it's no one else's fault but you. And I think that's something else that people try and do a lot of. Like they try and blame other people, but you know when you've not turned up, there's no one else to blame. You can't fucking blame your alarm because you're the idiot who's fucking slept through it. It's like, and you've got to take responsibility. But you make sure do you know what you do then? You set fucking 10 alarms so you never fucking sleep through it ever again. And as you said before, like, we were talking about, like, when you go to the online world, you don't have any kind of routine or anything like this. Like, you have that flexibility of, you can sleep until 8:30 if you want, or 9 o'clock in the morning, or you can sleep till 6 o'clock in the morning, because as long as you get them check-ins done by a given time that you said you can get them check-ins done for the clients, it doesn't really matter. But if you've never been exposed, as you said before, so that responsibility of do not fucking turn up late. Make sure you're there 50 minutes before the session. Everything is thought of what you're going to do that day. And you never had that. If you if you never experienced like people letting you down, as you said before, it's like you've not got that sensation what it's like when you've been through that sort of hate. And it sounds like a bit deep being hate, but it's like I've never felt so shit in my life. I can remember every facial expression I pulled when I seen her car driving away, and it was just like, oh. So like part of me was like, I fucking have to tell my manager about this as well. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm gonna get a bollocking. And it's that, and that's what I think. That's why I think. I also, by the way, I think one-to-one coaching is going to come back. I think one-to-one coaching in 5 years will be more popular than online. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of people doing online coaching now and charging a lot of money for online coaching. And you could argue they might not be as qualified to charge the amount they're charging. And I think eventually it'll do a U-turn where one-to-one coaching will be cheaper. You get a one-to-one service. And for all the pros that we said about one-to-one coaching, that's what the clients will be getting. So I think in 5 years, I think it might do a U-turn to one-to-one coaching. It will become a little bit more popular than online.
Do you think that'll be accelerated by the fact that, because I always think it's a fascinating topic of talking about career options for fitness professionals, because I feel now you have obviously your employed positions that often don't have much in the way of career progression, as much as some people say they do, they don't. And then you have self-employed. So like when you've got your friends that are lawyers and investment bankers and get $100,000 bonuses, there's nothing out there for fitness professionals other than if they want to make some money and have a safe income for them and their family, then going it alone and starting their own business. And I generally think a lot of these people that we've said who are doing all these things, that getting mentors and pushing this content out on Instagram, don't want to be self-employed. They just feel there's no other way and there's no other option. And this is what I've worked at with the gym that I work at now, is like, how do we create career progressions for people who don't want to be managers, who don't like to do, want to do sessions, but they want other sources of income. And this is where we're creating these courses, starting with the ones I'm creating. But these are options for someone else. You can sell as many or little of them as you like without having the responsibility of it being completely on your head. Do you think that could be a big part of this? The fact that a lot of people want to be employed, but there is no option.
I think so. Yeah, I think the development from a coach is very, very hard because, like, what development is that? Like, you can come and educated, which me and you are very, very blessed to be sort of in that world of. But then it's like, what else is there? Like a specialist in a certain kind of training modality, a specialist potentially in some kind of nutritional protocol, a gut health specialist. Like if you want to go down that route, it's very, very hard to progress. Or do you create like a team? Like I'm big friends with like Cal, who owns Pro Coach, and it's like he's created this fucking awesome team. And it's like, do you create like a team? But besides that, there's nothing really anything that you can do from it. Like you said, going to a manager and going to another role and going to another role. It's a good question actually, because like I'm thinking like, what's my thing when I'm 40?
Even with education,
it's like
yeah, even
yeah,
with
that's what I mean. It's like
right? Like,
what
we do education, and it's God, yeah. So I was saying, like, even with education though, we have this thing where like if you're not self-employed, because it's very hard to quantify education. Imagine working for a company and wanting to run education. There's an element of like, okay, well, Jenny here has got 5 more results. But is that directly because of you? Is that because she just got more experience? Is that because she's nicer? Is that because she's learned some stuff on her own? Like, it's hard to, like, if I was a sales guy, I could go, I brought in this much money into the business, so I want a cut of this. It's very tricky with education because it can't be quantified in the same way as a manager or a sales guy could be. So unless you're doing your own seminars and your own courses where the amount of people coming into the thing, it's a very hard thing to quantify to make good money from.
Yeah, true. It's a very, very good point. Yeah, to be fair, yeah, what you're all saying is I can't disagree. I've never really thought of it, to be fair. If I'm honest, I've never really thought of it like that. Good question. You have to leave me with that one. I'm going to have to ponder that.
So, like...
Because, like...
Yeah. Have a think. So, go on.
No, I wasn't going to add anything. Just saying, because I need to think of it. Yeah, it's got me thinking.
So to leave you with something, because I know you've got content to film and places to be. We've been obviously ragging on some of the negative sides of this industry. But what are the good things that you see from the industry now, as opposed to when we started 10 so years ago?
This industry is the best. This industry in my job is the best job in the world. It's like we talk about the negatives because, and the negatives they are negative, but they're not that bad. But put like this: if there's no such thing as social media, me and you probably would never been in contact. And it's like you get to reach and speak to so many people via these modalities now. And the beauty about online coaching is you don't work with just the encatchment that you work with. Like I've got clients all over the world. When I say all over the world, it's like majority in the UK, and then you got a few sporadically put on other countries. But it's like it's the beauty of our job. And if it wasn't for social media and whatnot, like I might never have found out who Jordan Shallow was. I might never have thought of doing an RTS course. I might never have met Cal in person, like built a good relationship with Cal, or met Kuba and went to train in Rotherham with Kuba, and all these kind of things. It's like social media is an amazing aspect of it. And I think, unfortunately, right, sometimes people do hang on to the negatives a lot, because that's the thing that really hurts, and we take the positives for granted, if that makes sense. But I would never have met my girlfriend, who I never would then put in touch with Cal, who potentially would never have turned pro last year. It's like there's so many things that are positives on, and you get to speak to so many cool people across the world who might give you a different thought process of something that you didn't think. And that was just from a conversation via DM. You didn't need to travel to America to do the seminar that they were teaching. You just had a little conversation over Insta. And there's so many positives too. So I don't want people to jump on this thinking that me and you are slagging off social media or the new way in which the world works. Because as I said to you before, mate, I think sometimes we have to look at ourselves and go, is it just us being a little bit lazy and naive and a bit ignorant to the way the world is now? And we have to reflect on ourselves and make our own answers off that. But mate, like, I wouldn't be able to post an Instagram training video about me talking about a hip hinge that I'm doing and reach so many people, and people go, that's fucking cool. And some people have never spoke to going, shit, mate, I've been looking at your progress, and the fact that you've went from X amount of load to X amount of load, that's fucking cool. And I don't care who you are, that makes you feel good inside. When someone's like giving you a nice little compliment like that. And you do get the dickheads. You do get the dickheads who are keyboard warriors and whatnot, but the majority of people are actually fucking really sound and say really, really nice, positive things. And that's the beauty of it.
I think we pushed the negative side of this to the front of this podcast for the main aim that we just want this industry to be better. And
yes,
moving out now and working with coaches both in the UK and now in Hong Kong, I see the differences between countries in terms of the fitness industry. And Asia is a little bit behind. It's getting there. It's getting there quickly. But Asia's still very Instagram booty bands. Whereas when I look back and I look at the options you now have in the UK for education, and Australia and the US as the three front runners, I'm like, this is something I never had. Like, when I go back to the UK, one of the things I'm excited for is that the amount of good quality education I can jump on in most weekends. I went back and did 4 educational seminars in 6 weeks when I went back in the summer. Like, there were few and far between. I had to travel to different countries for these things, or try and catch up or learn it secondhand. Whereas now, like, I could jump on something with Paul Standell. I can come up to you and then like see one of your courses. I could do that in the first month of coming home this summer. And the fact that I can do that, I think is incredible. Certainly in the UK. And I think the UK, for every person we think doesn't truly understand mechanics and maybe applying it badly or maybe preaching it badly, at least they're trying to learn. And that's something people 100%. Wouldn't have even been privy to, let alone trying to understand it, right? And you learn by putting content out there, and some of it will be wrong. I have put out a lot of shit content, for sure, and I probably continue to. But I think that's people want to be better, and I think that's the best thing about this industry now.
If we can leave on one note, it'll be like, look, as long as you're putting out a post with good intentions, and like you believe to what you're saying to be true, it's like, just post it, because what will happen is, if something that you're saying is not technically correct, and this has happened to me before with James Sutton, if something what you're saying is like technically not correct and you might have missed something out, the people who are generally good people in this industry would just send you a DM going, look, you might have just missed this point. They won't call you out. Like the good people in this industry won't call you out. They'll just try and help you with potentially something that you've forgotten to mention within your post. And then all you need to do is, next time you do a post similar, just make sure you include it. But what might have happened is you might have done a post and it might not have been technically correct, but 80% might have been. And then that person who's read your post might go, okay, cool, I'm going to apply that with my next training. So the fact that they might have been fucking up their barbell hip thrust, because that's the post that I got called out with by James Sutton, but like the few tips that I think it was like 6 years ago, I can remember it. But the tips that you've given to them, besides the 20% that wasn't correct, makes their barbell hip thrust better and they feel a better connection within their glutes. The setup's better, they feel more braced in the abs. It's like you've helped that individual, and yes, it might not have been perfect, but there's no such thing as perfection, mate. And me and you, we're still going to post some shit now, and in 5 years' time, we're going to look back and go, what the fuck were you talking about? Because as we said, mate, like, we're always evolving, we're always developing, we're always getting smarter. Because people are starting to understand the human body more and more and more now, to the point of our training is always going to differ to some degree. You still can't get away from training hard. Like, that is still the one key fundamental I think that needs to be applied. But the way in which we apply training is definitely going to differ from now to 5 years. And it's just fucking cool, mate. And if people just have the balls, be authentic, post what they think is generally going to help people, you're moving in the right direction. And as you said, mate, like, people now are so blessed that there's programs like Kajabi, where you can go and do, like, I've got J3 University up on my tab here. You can just go and do a course with John Jewett via the internet. I don't have to travel to, I think he's based in Texas. I don't have to travel to Texas to go and listen to him talk. I can do his whole module that he would have put 6 months into writing, and I can go and do that from the comfort of my own office, which me and you wouldn't have had that luxury 5-10 years ago.
Completely agree, and that is definitely on my to-do list in terms of courses at some point soon. But mate, that's been absolutely awesome. I've enjoyed that. And so if people want to learn more about you, or come to one of your courses, because you're now doing them, as you said, like monthly or every other month, where can people find you?
So my Instagram handle is, I think it's Ali _. I still don't know my new name on Instagram. I'm still really, really bad at it. It's Ali _ Premier Physique. That's where my technology is. Now I'm working with a supplement company called 4 Sports. They've got a members website, which is £6.99 a month. And the cool thing about their website is you've got loads of athletes posting about their journeys and what they're going through. And a lot of the athletes are just normal people. There's like my girlfriend's on there. There's a lot of other athletes who just talk about their journeys. And then they've also got the educational side of things, which I'm taking over. We've got a physiotherapist work on there. We've got a posing coach as well. So for people who are basically what the whole website's supposed to be is, when we were 16 and 18, it's like what we wish we fucking had at our disposal when we were that age. So that's what Robbie's trying to create, which is just fucking awesome. So if you go on 4 Ball website, you can just sign up. It's £6.99. And it's taking people from the bare basics to more advanced things as time goes on. And it's really, really cool to be a part of. I'm very, very grateful for Robbie giving me the opportunity. So yeah, 4 Ball, and then my Instagram is Ali _ Premier Physique. If people want to hear me rant and talk about shit that they may find relevant, and they might not, and they might just want to slag me off on Instagram, which is cool.
Love it. Yes, just make sure you do it over a DM so we can come back here. That's the lesson we've learned from today's show. But for that, mate, this has been a great chat. I've loved that. When you come off air, send me the link to the that website. I'll make sure it's in the show notes. And I'm definitely at some point when I come home in June, well, I'll definitely pop up and give you a visit. We'll do, as we said, we much prefer filming content when it's in our natural habitat. So let's just film a workout, and then we'll maybe find a good podcast studio where we can do this in person without a slight delay.
Yeah, well, what we could watch when you come back in June, like I've got my media guy's got his own little podcast studio set up, so we'll just pop there, we'll record something, we'll go and train, grab some food, and just create some good content and have a good laugh. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about,
mate. Sounds fantastic, mate. Appreciate it as ever. Speak to you soon.
Thank you very much for having me on.